Hi everybody, today's video is going to be another forecast update on the winter storm currently affecting Oklahoma and portions of the Southern Plains. Looking at our first graphic here, we can see the National Weather Service in Norman has updated their forecast snow totals. You can see a wide area of 6 to 8 totals, and it really expanded greatly their 4 to 6 total area, and as such have expanded the winter storm warning here, which now includes basically most of Oklahoma, besides a few rows of counties on the north and south borders. And as we can see, some expansion also in the Tulsa forecast office. Now, looking over at some current accumulations as of 10 a.m., we can see already some 6 to 8 areas over in western Oklahoma, right on that border of Oklahoma-Texas Panhandle at I-40, and a little bit of here in northwest Texas as well. But overall, we could see some overachieving snowfall totals, and those will be likely in some areas where we do see heavier bands of snow. Another thing I like about the National Weather Service in Norman is they do provide some great graphics, such as this one, where we see this heavy snow band is already causing some travel issues in southwestern Oklahoma. And those are going to be really important graphics if you're going to be out and traveling today, as we will see some bands of heavy localized snow that can really cause some travel issues, even on major interstates and highways. Now, switching over here to the wet bulb temperatures, we can see that over the past few hours, we've had temperatures fall to near and even below freezing in some areas. We do have a couple higher regions. We got a 34 here and a 35, actually a little region of 35. This is almost kind of stretching around, if you will. But overall, the main story in the metro here is that temperatures have fallen to freezing and are expected to continue throughout the day. They may not be falling below freezing by 5 degrees, but all we need is for those temperatures to fall to freezing, and we can see some heavy wet snow as we are currently seeing here in Norman. The snow is rather large, almost getting to nickel-sized snowflakes. But once again, those temperatures have fallen, so we are starting to see some heavier snow accumulations on west central Oklahoma, and accumulations are still struggling a little bit as we get those temperatures to cool here at the surface. But as these temperatures continue to fall, we will likely see snow starting to accumulate first on grassy and elevated surfaces, and those roads really won't see major accumulations until later in the afternoon or evening. We kind of mentioned in last night's video that we've seen temperatures above freezing and even well above freezing for the last few days here. And we're not really seeing a huge shot of cold air coming in. So it may take a little while for those roads to get cold enough for snow to start to accumulate. But again, if you're going to be out this afternoon, this evening, just keep in mind that these road conditions can change pretty quick, and it's best advised to just exercise a lot of caution and give yourself a little bit extra time. Looking over here at the radar and correlation coefficient, we can see that a heavy band beginning to make its way into south central Oklahoma here, and that is quite a significant band. We also have another heavy band down. If we look at the Frederick radar here, we can see this heavy band extending into portions of southwest Oklahoma, and even, just really heavy rates down into northwest Texas. But again, if we look at the correlation coefficient here, we can see an interesting feature, which is much of this is likely falling as rain and has not quite made its way to freezing yet. So we're still not seeing a lot of snow here. And again, as it's always a reminder, as the radar beam goes out, it is going up as well. And so when we do see this transition off to the east, this is probably an elevated snow layer, which as it's making its way down to the surface is falling as rain in these areas. Now, we can see this line right here, which is probably indicative of a rain-snow line kind of moving off to the east here, and yet another one here. Go ahead and clear that out, make it a little easier to see. But again, rain-snow line slowly making its way eastward, and I bet we might see that as we put this in motion here. And again, yes, you can see that line starting to make its way off to the east. And some of these heavier precipitation rates might be out ahead of that transition, but you can see specifically in areas near Walters, Lawton, Elgin, we are seeing some of those heavier bands. And extrapolating what we saw on the Norman radar, we can see that extends in this area as well. So just all in this area, we're seeing some pretty heavy snowfall bands. And those are expected to maybe shift a little bit north throughout the day. Again, they're going to be rotating around the low, so we might see something shaping up like this later as it moves off to the east and north. But again, if you're under one of those bands, just keep in mind that snow is probably going to accumulate a little quicker, and that might lead to some deteriorating road conditions a little quicker than expected. Now, as we are at the day of the event, I usually don't like to use the models that much, especially in winter forecasting. But looking at some real-time cam analysis, we can see that temperatures are pretty spot on. We only have a couple of areas that are colder than what we were expecting. And especially as we look at the dew point map, you do see that area down in northwest Texas, southwestern Oklahoma, where the per was a little bit too warm with the dew points there, but not anything real major that we're seeing. One thing to look at with the high resolution ensemble forecast here is that we do see potential farther east advancement of that rain snow line, if that is indeed what the forecast was trying to indicate there. But again, nothing major, as we've already seen that snow transition in some places. But again, as these temperatures stay pretty cold, even whether the model's forecasted or not, we should start to see some of those snowflakes accumulate. And in fact, looking out my window here, I can see some of those snowflakes starting to stick. So accumulations are probably starting to happen here in central Oklahoma, and we could see some, pretty steady uptick in those accumulation numbers as of, maybe noon or 11:30. Because right now, again, the 10 o'clock graphic, we did not see a whole lot of accumulations in central Oklahoma or around the metro. But overall storm impacts today, besides the heavy snow, we're going to be looking at, some roads deteriorating around this late afternoon, early evening hours, and then potentially even some power outages. As we discussed last night, with this heavy wet snow, the power infrastructure does have to bear an extra weight. There's more moisture content in the snow, and so it can put a little bit more stress than what the grid is used to on a normal day. And you might see a couple sporadic power outages. We're not expecting anything widespread by any means, but you should note that it is a possibility. In addition to the high snowfall and the sporadic power outages, we aren't expecting to see any major cold air until late Wednesday night. So that is one good thing, is we're not expecting extremely low wind chills or just cold air values in general, and that this system should stay pretty decent in terms of temperatures as this snow moves through. Well, thank you for watching, and stay safe today as that snow comes down.